5. I think this means this is when we complete, if I understand the item, what dates do we want to meet? When will it be our annual meeting? I think we're looking at page 2 of the bylaws under meeting, annual meeting, regular meeting.
More preference would be that it would be held, as far as your monthly meeting, if at all possible, prior to the commissioners' meeting, which since they meet weekly, I mean, that's not a big deal, because there's some things that they may have to, okay, as this is a subcommittee or a trust of commissioners.
Does everybody like meeting at the VOTEC? Is any objection to that? 6:30 in the evening?
Well, just let me say I'm extremely glad to see the board in place, and I think it's a good board. And I don't mind telling you that it's an extremely complex project. You all probably know that more than I. And it has been pretty much over our heads since early on. And we're glad to see it migrate to you folks, needless to say. The thing is, I mean, it is to the point now that we have taken the recommendation of the GO bond board for Mr. Michaelis and his board, and we have $300,000 worth of GO bonds available that we will be entering into a contract with a bond attorney to facilitate those bonds being drawn up and marketed. There was $56,000 in change of interest in that bond account. We accumulated between the time the bond payment was to be made and the bonds matured, and that $56,000 has also been agreed to be used to the trust authority for some stock. I visited with Kirk Fisher yesterday, and he assured me that by next Wednesday or Thursday, the application for the $1 million commerce grant would be in. I guess he visited with you, and I guess all the I's are dots and the T's are crossed on that. And Commerce assures us that the $1 million is still there. There's 2 criteria for it, one being the stimulus money, which is basically a gift, and the other being $35,000 per job. And we've had some flexibility with Sandridge and some of the other participants in this thing as far as getting the job count up where it needs to be to qualify for the money.
So Clint, my first question, what does this board need to do to make sure financing is in place?
Well, we will, as quickly as possible, get with the bond attorneys on our end for the GO funding, so that will become available. It's just a stroke of a pen to get the $56,000 released. We just have to have a place to go with it. As far as Commerce is concerned, the key to that is getting an application in timely and see that it is everything on it that needs to be on it. Kirk Fisher is doing that. With that being said, the board needs to stay in pretty close contact with Kirk, to make sure that, number one, it's moving in. If there's any information he needs, that he has access to it.
What about his contract?
Kirk works for us through OEDA.
Okay. Will this board be responsible for his portion of that grant also, or will that come through county funds?
I'm not sure I follow the question.
I would be getting Kirk to help us.
Yes.
I mean, as far as a monetary amount, he works through.
I don't think you will see anything for Kirk out of the grant funding.
Okay.
If that's the question.
Is also there's some money available to purchase the land? Is that or is that off the table, or
No,
Still
it's,
under contract.
the land's still under contract, and the money is available as I understand it anyway.
And that's through the Woods County Industrial Development Authority. That is in that contract, we have another, I wanna say, 18 months. But I would have to look to be sure.
But Woods County Industrial Authority will purchase the
It's
land
who,
for us?
it's who the contract is with.
Woods County Industrial Development.
Yeah,
They are responsible for the,
no, that was the entity that has been doing this from the beginning.
but
And
will
this
be
entity-
responsible for the funding.
That is correct. And that is how that is envisioned. That is what will need to be determined on how it's going to be structured. I mean, the commissioners and that industrial authority feel like that this entity needs to be here. And, I mean, it's that authority that has pushed this project to this, I guess, to this stage.
And could maybe the members be provided with a copy of the contract for the land?
Absolutely.
For the next meeting?
Sure.
I don't want to ask something that improper, but has Share Trust also stepped forward, or is that not a done deal?
No, as far as I know, it's a done deal. That's what
We have the
facilitated the land
first-
being put under contract, was the guaranteed funding from Share Trust.
We have the first installment sitting in account. It is in 3 installments. The next installment, the list would be in July.
Tell us the steps that you think, in your opinion, we need to take to move this project forward.
Now you're putting me on the spot. That's the reason we got rid of it.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I would like your opinion.
Stay on every aspect of this financing thing. Get the money in place, and everything else will follow the way it looks to me. You need to stay on us as well, and we need to stay on Kirk Fisher. And the contract on the land needs to move forward as fast as it can. I mean, that's the first step. If we don't own the land, we're not going any farther than that.
Clint, might sound stupid, but who sets the fee for these prospective suitors that we have?
I think all those responsibilities will fall to you all.
Is there a list of?
Any lease contracts, terms of usage, car fees, operating expenses, all of those things is gonna fall under the power of this board.
Clint, I have one question.
Okay.
The attorneys, the one that put this all together,
Mm-hmm.
they'll be able to give some guidance as far as those contracts and things like that, or not?
Well, they probably could. I don't know how much expertise Dan has in rail contracts. And I can tell you that he is very expensive for him to research things. If, there may be somebody out there that already has rail contract experience, it might be cheaper to use.
Joe, do you have knowledge of this rail stuff through being the general manager?
Very little. Probably have access to people that do, though.
A lot of that has been researched and provided to them for us to establish. For us to obtain the funding that we've received, we had to come up with projections, and so those kind of things had to be researched out and asked of other industrial parks and that deal with rail. So I mean, we do have some examples and some research already completed.
It's not like we're trying to have to totally reinvent the wheel. I mean, there's some guidelines out there we can go by from existing parks.
Do we have any type of agreement at this time with Burlington Northern?
Not to my knowledge.
That, I just spoke to Craig, and at 4:30 this afternoon,
And you made reference to Craig Morgan?
Craig Morgan and Jason McCuller.
And the project has started out large and has been scaled back for economic conditions and times. There's a lot of stuff out there floating. So, my recommendation that we put on the agenda next time is, Sonia, the last proposed budget and information sheet that we took to the Geo Bond Board when we talked to them. I have a passion for this project because I think it's potentially one of the finest things economic development-wise that we could do for Woods County, period. And if we can get it going, I think it's monumental what it could do for us. Saying that, trying to get all of these finances in place, a huge part of that is the $1 million grant from the Department of Commerce. If we can get that application in and get it approved. It was sent in once and approved, and now we're reapplying to make sure that we have everything completely finished. Sonia also won a grant from the Red Lake District that comes through a local cooperative that is a 10-year, is that right, Sonia?
Yeah, it's not a grant, it's a loan.
It's a loan. Yeah, correct. It's a loan for 10 years with interest-free money. There's some criteria that has to be met behind that to make it available, but we think we can do that.
Just to maybe be a little bit more specific, what else do we need to have on the agenda other than what we've talked about?
Well, I think that last proposal, and that's a big item that lays all the funding out. I think
that's
that
one of the things I'm going to send out to them, so they'll have it ahead of time where they can review it and ask questions.
the engineer on the rail project, who is the bread and butter of it, and the man that has done the work so far, if this board wants to hire him, I think that contract needs to be in place so that they can look at it.
And I've asked for that to be.
Burlington Northern has been a huge piece of that, and I certainly hope that contract is available for at least review, because that's got to be step one before the engineer can really start, I think, is that Burlington Northern agreement has to be in place. So there's those two agreements for sure. I would certainly hope by that time that the Department of Commerce application would be here so that we could review that. I think there's been ample time for that to be prepared, so I think it should be a part of it.
And that'll be signed off, and that'll be made.
The Red Lake grant that Sonia was awarded, that information needs to be brought also to that next meeting so that you all can understand and see and read the documents and see what's in place. I think we really need a plat of the land down there that shows, Les asked the question, it was a good one, how it lays out and exactly the scope of this first phase of the project.